Majo John Madden in my camper van with just this one flashlight here, which, let's see if I can make it work better. I don't know, I'm not sure I can. Oh my God, that's awful. Well, that's the best, seems to be the best I can do here. I may delete that and start over again. Oh, it just fits with the theme. I don't know why, but I'm gonna keep it. In my camper van, about 10 o'clock at night, I just slept hard for probably 90 minutes to 2 hours. That's about my usual sleep cycle, and woke up. And one of my last memories before I fell asleep, I said, let's see if we can hold on to that. I have a kind of a mythic hero story that I learned from a couple of movies, classic, like 70s movies, about it was the whole counterculture period, and they were of the free soul doing battle with the oppressive establishment and losing in those two movies. Cool Hand Luke. Who's the actor from Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid? Not Robert Redford. The other guy. I don't know. Cool Hand Luke. Yeah, he is the guy who said what we have here is a failure to communicate. He was just kind of neurotic, but free soul that gets oppressed by the police. And then One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, Jack Nicholson, the heroic truth teller who gets fried by the big nurse in the psychiatric establishment. Now, I had my 30 years of being oppressed by the psychiatric establishment, and I do have a heroic story to bring down that industry, but I had a very specific incident that replayed that One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest story so well that I made the evil nurse, not Big Nurse, which she was in the movie, but BN2, Big Nurse 2. And this was a real story. I was a psychiatric patient on an inpatient unit in the exact same hospital that I had worked in as a activities therapist right out of college when I took a year off before going to psychology grad school. And it was named, my name is John Madden. I use the nickname Majo, or Majo down here. John Madden Zone Center, named after a famous psychiatrist in Chicago. Yeah, and by that point, it was not a very well-funded visionary mental health center. It was a rat hole inpatient unit. But same building, same room, same big room. Yeah. And the nurse is super oppressive. What's going on there is nothing like therapy. And at one of the community meetings, which is basically the nurse lecturing us all, a very crazy young black man, kind of biracial, maybe light skin, is having a meltdown and is crying in the middle of the meeting. And the nurse insists that he stop crying. And when he can't, she leans over to one of the aides and whispers something that we know means, get security up here. And then she calls him into the meeting, and I say, wait a minute. No, we need to talk about what just happened here. And she says, no, we don't. The meeting's over. And at that point, this street tough guy next to me says, yeah, we do need to talk about it. Any minute now, two big gorillas are going to come out here and shoot that kid full of something that's going to have him asleep till Tuesday. And she's trying to end the meeting, and I go down and sit next to the kid, and half a dozen other patients go down and sit next to the kid, and security never calls. Never. She obviously called off security, and I referred to it as the night that us patients won. Yeah. So that's two. That's two. A third instance is one of my very first jobs in Asheville, North Carolina, as the working class hero I was always meant to be. I'm doing retail at the Mass General Store, iconic, cool store. I loved working there. I had a blast. And I was myself, and I was writing. I had created my own model for customer service, which I called authentic customer service. Don't just make the customer's day, make your own day by doing it your own way. And one day, two of the other staff who know the store better than I sit me down in one of the iconic big wooden rocking chairs they have around the store, and in front of them often. There's a series of Mass General stores around that region of the country. With an old Southern thing that there was a display for, which was a classic Southern thing, the combination of a moon pie, like a marshmallow with chocolate on top of it, a moon pie, and an RC cola. That was like a meme. That was a trope in the South, was those two. So they had me in the wooden rocker, because I had asked them, what's the deal with these things? Why moon pie? And so they made me the demo for it. And in the middle of that, one of my customers that I had been having a blast with from a distance calls over and says, hey, Majo, could you help me with something? And I, just kidding him in a way that he got the sense of humor, I say, can you not see I'm sitting here? He thought it was funny. The other people thought it was hysterical. The lover of the manager, who was a really insecure first-time manager and knew that I, with my background in management consulting, knew a lot more about management than she did. She was always threatened by me. Her lover reports me sassing a customer. And the next day, Christmas Eve day, as we show up at the back door to open the store at 8 o'clock in the morning, she comes out and fires me. Fires me. I was going to be temporary anyway for the holidays, but I was supposed to be there a few more days. She fires me right in front of everybody. And one of the other staff says to me afterwards, I was telling my husband last night that you are teaching us how to really do customer service. So that's another one in the same lineage. My first year of running the back roads of Appalachia after the pandemic, I have an encounter with a convenience store manager. Now, I had worked in convenience stores. I had worked in a grocery store for 7 years, but one year I'd actually run not a whole convenience store, but a little kiosk that sold cigarettes and gas. And, oh, yeah, that's another one. That's another one. But, oh, let's tell that one first, because that's back in Asheville. Before I left, it was like not my very first job in Asheville. One of my first jobs. I'm working in that job in the convenience store, and self-entitled middle-class woman is having trouble pumping her gas. And I go out to the pump to try to help her, and she had messed it up so much that it just wouldn't pump. And I said, let me go back in the kiosk and see if I can figure this out. And she says to me, oh, because you don't know what you're doing, I have to wait. And it was only because a friend of mine was at the next pump as I was walking back. I wouldn't have said this otherwise, but I did a stage whisper to my friend, bitch. And the customer heard me. So she chased me back to the kiosk and yells at me from outside the kiosk, face to face, how dare you call me a bitch? And I look at her and I say, ma'am, sometimes it just fits. It was so fun, so exciting. That was a great way I went out in a burst of flames. and the next day, my boss Jim, who was a great guy and great sense of humor, and I love Jim, greets me and says, she called the corporation. Complaints like that go straight to one vice president, and that vice president said, "You've been running kind of a loose show there, Jim. This one's got to go." Oh shit, there's another one back from grad school. This is the story of my life, obviously. Holy shit. So Jim fired me. And then he wrote me a great review. And he always would stand by my story if I left because the hours were too late. But in grad school, I did not do anything. Well, I was a rebel. I was a student. We were student radicals in grad school. We fought the establishment the whole time we were there. I had my dissertation done. I had run all the research. I just had to write it up. It was on Zen meditation. Yeah. In the top-rated clinical psychology program in the country that mostly taught behaviorism and Freudianism. And the brand new chair of the psychology department, the old chair had been one of our clinical profs who was a great guy, Bud, somebody. Great, funny guy, humanistic guy. The new guy was Boynton, Bob Boynton, who was a behaviorist. He was a physiological psychologist, and he detested the clinical program that they hadn't gotten rid of all of us a long time ago. And he says, "Madden," he calls me into his office. I'm close to getting out of there. I was reviewing the other day the Ph.D. research and process at the University of Rochester, and I saw that you're doing a dissertation on Zen meditation. Well, that program has letting too many assholes get out of here with a Ph.D. in clinical psychology from the University of Rochester, and it stops with you. No asshole in my department is going to write a dissertation on Zen meditation. And I didn't do nothing. I didn't do nothing except survive. And I remember when I got out of there, I wanted to uproot trees. I was so enraged. So no way now would I just sit and take that. No, but back then, I did. Yeah. So, next story is first year of the COVID. I'm running the Appalachian Mountains, and this run-in with the manager of a convenience store. Everywhere I befriended the cashiers in the convenience stores and did great with them because they were my people. But the managers, I had run-ins. And this guy says to me, you realize that if you buy all that stuff on Visa, you can't return any of it. I had a whole, $30 worth of stuff. So I was a good customer. And I looked at him and I said, I think the Visa people would disagree with you about that. And, yeah. And so then the next part of it is I didn't actually call corporate to find out what the policy was, but I fantasized doing that. And I went in there again and said to one of the frontline staff, tell the boss that he ought to check with corporate, because I'm not going to make the call to corporate because it might get him in trouble. He ought to check on that because I think he's wrong. So he misunderstood the story and heard it as I had called corporate on him and calls the police, because the right to serve law in North Carolina and many, many states means that you can throw anybody out for life, ban them from life for your property without giving a reason. It's like the equivalent of the right to work laws, which actually means the right to fire an employee at any time without giving a reason, not just while they're on probation. And that was true in North Carolina and many states. So it's a really, really great cop came out from the Weaverville Police Department, big kind of like middle-class town that had been a country town, but now is like a suburb of Asheville. Reggie Ray black man. He was actually a school. At that point he was cop in the schools. But he says he was a great guy. We talked for 45 minutes, and he ended the conversation by saying it was an honor to have met you. But he said, legally, that's the law. You have to be evicted. If he says you're out, you're out. So there was that. Oh, yeah. And I said to Reggie Ray, you know that guy admitted to me that the reason that's their policy, that you can't return visa things, is they don't know how to do that in the calculator, in the cash register. Yeah. So the final one, which must have happened after that, this is the most iconic. I had spent 30 years misdiagnosed as bipolar. At that point, had been officially discharged from psychiatry because I had this spiritual experience. My life turned around. I got off all my meds. I was doing great under the guidance of my kind of radical young woman psychiatrist, PA psychiatrist. But my physician for 16 years in Nashville said, I can't get anything officially in the records of the big hospital, Mission Hospital in Nashville, because I'm not a staff there. I said, well, I'm scared I'm going to show up there sometime physically messed up, and they're going to throw